All right, here we go. We have a base color of everything. Everything looks really flat. So I'm going to start adding some more layers. The more layers, the better. You know this in watercolor. So I am going to come and use my praying set. I'm going to pull a little bit of red violet, and I'm just going to spice up my colors a little bit, making these look more three-dimensional. Running this along the edge of my pear. Rinsing, drying my brush, and blending that in. I don't want any backgrounds. I don't want it to look like it's a line. There we go. It's kind of pretty there. And I want it to be pretty dark, so I'm going to come really another layer. And again, I'm just going to work that in, dry my brush, blotting so you don't have that edge. Now I'm going to put this all the way around my pear. For starters, okay? I'll come back here in a little bit and do something different. Blending it, blending it, blending it, dabbing it. That looks a lot more three-dimensional. I'm digging that. I'm liking that a lot more. But I think that I want a little bit more yellow, so I'm going to come back with yellow again, and pretty opaque. And I'm just painting right on top, kind of blending that in with that magenta that I've placed in there. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a highlight. It's not a white highlight, but it's a light yellow highlight there. Block that out a little bit more. And I'm still thinking that I want some more. There we go. I'm going to really push my purple. I'm doing expressive color here. Okay. Rinse, dry, blend. And then I'm going to blot so I don't have those edges. That's kind of a fun pair. Now I can go back and put another layer of yellow on. It's not going to take any yellow right now because it's too wet. So while that's wet, I can come over and I can play around with my grapes a little bit more. Mine are a red-orange, so to make them a little darker, I'm going to mix a little bit of green with my red-orange and tone that down. And where I see my darker areas on my grapes, I'm going to come back in. I'm going to make these look three-dimensional. On the bottom there. And I'm going to paint one or two grapes at a time because I don't want them to dry and have the backgrounds. Just kind of toning them down so they're not too bright. And I can come back and I can put a little bit more true orange. All depends what color you want. Kind of liking an orange, so I can keep going with that color. It's a little bit more realistic. Notice I painted over my highlight. It was kind of a fake highlight. I didn't like it very much. So now I can come back in with my paper towel and there we go. That looks a little bit more realistic. A little bit more. Again, I'm painting one grape at a time. And remember, if you paint next to a grape that's already wet, it's going to bleed. And I want them to kind of look like they're a gradation. So they're darker on an area where the shadows are. Lift a little bit. They're looking more three-dimensional. Maybe you want to change the color even more. Maybe you want to come back in and say, hey, I kind of want to do some purple grapes. Well, let's see what we got. There we go. That's pretty. Kind of like the purple. I have those layers of color, which really push the three-dimensional quality. Now, doesn't that look more realistic with all those layers? And I'm going to soften that highlight a little bit. It looks too fake. Lift it out one more time. And I have kind of almost like a red highlight. It's kind of pretty. And again, I'm going to do the same process because I want to keep the same color. So I'm going back in with that green and my orange to make it look three-dimensional. Push a little bit more here. A bit more on the bottom. Blend it all in. And then again, I'm liking the purple color that I had. So while it's still wet, I'm just going to add that purple. It kind of does its own thing when it's wet. It's kind of nice. Lighten up that a little bit there. Push a little bit more. Remember, you have to wait because the grapes, they won't take color while they're still wet. Like this one here, maybe I want to make it a little bit more purple now that it's dry. Maybe I'm really going to push that purple in there, make them really dark. There we go. That's pretty. And then again, I'm just wetting my brush, then blending that around and making it look like it's a gradation. I still have some of that orange showing through, much more three-dimensional than I had before. There you go. Okay, and I would do this to each one. Now, not only do I have to do all the grapes, I have the stems. I have to go back in and paint the really darks in here. Okay, so I'm not going to do this whole video to show you that, but I will do the stem, and I'm just going to mix a little bit of Payne's Gray with the burnt sienna and try to get this to look more three-dimensional on one side. That little stem that comes up there. I'm just putting it down on one end. And again, blending with a wet brush. Looking three-dimensional there. And you're going to have to be careful because the salt can kind of get in your way. And I'm pushing that a little bit more. That's much more three-dimensional there. So it looks like it's round. Now let's play around and do one more thing, just for fun. Let's see what happens if I put a little green on top of my pear. So I'm going to come back to my praying set. I'm going to grab some of this green, yellow green. Let's see what I have there. I might like it, I might not, but I think it's going to look kind of cool. Just bring it around. Kind of like that. Do it on the side too. And then it with my water. Try to stay away from my highlight. And then, of course, I'm going to blot to soften my edges. Much more three-dimensional. And I like it. Add a little bit more yellow. just to push it. You can see I've got a lot of layers going on here. But the thing is, this watercolor, you have to be patient. I had to wait till it was dry before I could put more on there. And then I'm going to lift and explore. There we go. A good start. Very good start. So, once this dries, I have one more demonstration. I'll wait till it dries. I'll come back and I'll show you how to do a spatter effect for the little speckles that are on the pear.